Hello and welcome to my Yu-Gi-Oh channel. So today we're looking at new cards coming out of Lightning Overdrive, and these are to support Akiza Azinski's Rose cards. It's ridiculous how much support that Jack Atlas and Yusei Fudo had. They had evolutions of various cards, and it's now time for the other signers to get their chance. So the first card is Basil Rose Shoot. It's a quick play spell card, and the effect is you can only use each of this card's name's first and second effects once per turn. One, special summon one Rose Dragon monster from your hand or graveyard position. And two, if this set card is destroyed, you can target one of your Black Rose Dragon or one of your monsters that specifically lists that card in its text that is banished or in your graveyard and special summon it. So this card just helps to revive a Rose Dragon or to get it from the hand onto the field. This helps to then go into your normal Black Rose Dragon if you want to, but that effect is okay. The secondary effect is if it's destroyed, then you're actually able to then special summon a Black Rose Dragon itself. So actually, for your opponent to rely on the first effect is actually better than getting rid of this card, because otherwise you're then able to then go into a boss monster, Akiza's Ace in the Hole. And now we've got an upgrade as well to Black Rose Dragon. This is Blood Rose Dragon. It's a level 10 fire attribute dragon type synchro effect monster with 3,200 attack and 2,400 defense. It requires materials of 1 tuner plus 1 or more non-tuner monsters. 1, if this card is synchro summoned, you can banish all cards from the graveyards. Then, if this card was synchro summoned using Black Rose Dragon or a plant synchro monster as material, you can destroy all other cards on the field. 2, when your opponent activates a card or effect that would destroy a card, as a quick effect, you contribute this card, negate the activation, then you can special summon 1 Black Rose Dragon from your extra deck or graveyard. Like I was saying before, it's about time that the other signers get a little bit more attention. Yusei has at least several forms of Stardust Dragon. Even if you look at you've got Stardust Cipher Dragon, you've got Quasar Dragon, you've got so many versions. Even with Jack Atlas, okay, Jack Atlas had less than Yusei to begin with, but when it came to Yu-Gi-Oh! I think Arc 5, then when they reintroduced him as a character, he got a lot of attention, a lot more support for the Red Dragon Archfiend monsters. And yeah, like I said, none of the others seem to have any other boss monsters outside of the manga versions of their original cards. As for its stat lineup, I think it's okay. In it being a level 10 isn't too difficult to summon because it's an even number, and Akiza has run various level 3 and 4 monsters, so reaching those targets, those levels, isn't difficult. The first effect, being able to just clear all cards from the graveyards, means that you're wiping out potentially cards, yes, can go to your disadvantage, because a lot of plant synchro-based decks do rely on their graveyard, but having this out on the field surely is enough to kind of put your opponent in a bad situation. But the other thing is you're getting rid of your opponent's graveyard, so if they've done a lot of setting up in their graveyard and they're ready to do something, you've now ruined their chances. Although downside is if they're running a banished deck, this is actually going to do them a favour. But you also get the Black Rose Dragon effect, just even if you use Black Rose Dragon or a plant synchro monster, to just wipe out all cards on the field. I think this is relevant, and it's really good that they've kept it to this basis, because Akiza was known for using Black Rose Dragon and known for using plant monsters. So keeping to that theme means you're not going to have, too many people abusing that effect outside of a pure build. The secondary effect to be able to get rid of this card and then just special summon a Black Rose Dragon is also really good, because if you can time it well, if this card is going to the graveyard anyway as a result of an effect, you might as well be on your terms. By doing that, you're then able to replace it a lower version of itself. That's very much the same as how a couple of the definitely Shooting Star Dragon, it reminds me of that same kind of effect to replace itself with Stardust Dragon as well. Rox Rose Dragon is a level 3 dark attribute dragon type tuner monster with 1,600 attack and 1,200 defense. You can only use each of this card's name's first and second effects once per turn. 1, if this card is normal or special summoned, you can add 1 card that specifically lists Black Rose Dragon in its text from your deck to your hand, except Rock Rose Dragon. 2, if this card is in your graveyard and a face-up Rose Dragon monster or plant synchro monster you control is destroyed by battle or an opponent's card effect, you can add this card to your hand. Okay, so this card there are other Rose Dragon cards out there with the same stat lineup, or I think one of them has the reverse stat line. It's 1,200 attack and 1,600 defense. It's basically a generic search card for the archetype, so that's always a good thing. It's a bit like a rota. The secondary effect actually punishes your opponent if they get rid of a Rose Dragon or a plant synchro monster, because this then returns to the hand. Yes, you're losing probably a more powerful monster, but then you're able to cover this card and potentially go into a boss monster on your next turn. And of course, where would we be without one of these witch cards? If anyone wasn't aware of Yu-Gi-Oh! 5Ds growing up, Akiza was referred to as a witch because she had psychic-based powers. She could create dangerous situations where her power would go out of control, and she would destroy buildings using her monsters, who could physically attack various people. It's called Witch of the Blood Rose. It's a level 1 light attribute plant type tuna monster with 800 attack and 1,700 defense. You can only use each of this card's name's first and second effects once per turn. 1, you contribute this card to add 1 Witch of the Black Rose from your deck to your hand. And if you do, place 1 level 3 or lower plant monster from your deck on the top of your deck. Then immediately after this effect resolves, you can normal summon 1 Witch of the Black Rose from your hand. And 2, you can banish this card from your graveyard. Return 1 of your Black Rose Dragon or Blood Rose Dragon that is banished or in your graveyard to the extra deck. What I like about this card is it provides a lot more flexibility to how the deck wants to play. Witch of the Black Rose, for anyone who isn't aware, it's not the oldest card Akiza has, but it is relatively old support. It came out about the time where she was facing the dark sign of Misty Treadwell who was direct opponent. Witch of the Black Forest has this effect where it can be normal summoned and then you draw a card, and then if that card is a monster you can summon it. If it's not, I can't remember the secondary effect, but I think it destroys itself. And Witch of the Black Rose is a monster, so the whole idea was you would then be able to synchro summon instantly into your Black Rose Dragon. With this effect, you can essentially guarantee that happens. You can put a level 3 monster on the top of your deck. You can summon your Witch of the Black Rose and then trigger that effect. So you're top decking without having to run additional support, and you can instantly go into your Black Rose Dragon. It adds so much consistency. The secondary effect of this card as well is so good because of the effects of Black Rose Dragon and Blood Rose Dragon end up being banished or in the graveyard very easily, and unless you're running specific support, it's just a little bit more difficult to do. You might break your hand, so using this effect is just so much better. And of course, if you're going to have a plant, they talk about plant synchro monsters, you're going to have a plant synchro monster in here as well. This is Garden Rose Flora. It's a level 5 light attribute plant type synchro tuna monster with 800 attack and 1,600 defense. It requires 1 tuna plus 1 or more non-tuna monsters, and you can only use the first effect of this card's name once per turn. You can target 1 field spell on the field. You cannot special summon monsters from the extra deck for the rest of its turn, except synchro monsters. Also destroy that target, then special summon 1 Rose token, plant type, dark attribute level 2 with 800 attack and defense, to its controller's field in attack position. 2, during your opponent's main phase, you can, as a quick effect, immediately after this effect resolves, synchro summon using this card you control. And what this is meant to work with is Black Rose Garden. That was a card which Akiza used within the Fortune Cup when she was facing, I think it was like some detective who was trying to punish Akiza for what she did to him as an Obelisk Blue student back in his past. He believed that it ruined his career and his life and his health. So that was the story behind that. Black Rose Garden does generate rose tokens in of itself, but the downside of it is any monster that is normal summoned directly to the field loses half its attack, so it does have a massive weakness to it. This is both yours and your opponent's, so it doesn't even give you any kind of immunity from that effect, regardless of what type it is, what attribute. It just has that effect. You actually have to put a monster set in face down defense position before flipping it over to avoid that effect. So by doing this, you guarantee yourself to get the Rose token. Then you can synchro summon that straight into a Black Rose Dragon. And also the secondary effect is just the same as something like a Formula Synchron. Most of these Synchro Tuner monsters have the same effect. They work as being able to respond to your opponent during their main phase. So I love the design of these cards, and I think it's going to make so much difference to how Akisa's deck runs. I want to see the same support given to Crow, to Leo, and to Luna as well, just so that their recognized decks, get a little bit more powerful as well. And I just love the design. I'm sure they will get some support, some maybe in the next few packs coming.